Warner Bros. Studios, Burbank, California. Soundstage 7, June 3rd, 1972. Thursday morning, 8:45 a.m. The air inside. The massive soundstage was thick with the smell of sawdust, fresh paint and coffee from the craft services table. 70 crew members were setting up for the day's shoot, a martial arts action sequence, the kind that would define a generation of cinema, the kind that would change how fight scenes were filmed forever. Bruce Lee stood in the center of the stage, wearing simple black training pants and a white t-shirt. No shoes. Never shoes when he was choreographing. He needed to feel the floor, needed to understand the space, needed to know exactly how his body would move through every inch of it. Around him, 5 stunt performers waited in various fighting stances, frozen like statues, holding positions while Bruce walked around them, adjusting an arm here, a leg there, visualizing the camera angles, the editing cuts, the rhythm of violence that would appear on screen. But 40 feet away, leaning against a lighting rig with his massive arms crossed over his chest, someone was watching. Someone who had been watching for 3 days now. Someone whose jaw had been getting tighter, whose patience had been wearing thinner, whose professional pride had been building into something dangerous. His name was Marcus Kane, and in exactly 7 minutes, he was going to make a mistake that would haunt him for the rest of his life. Marcus Kane had broken men with his bare hands. Not figuratively, literally, broken bones, shattered ribs, dislocated shoulders. 10 years as a professional wrestler. Not the theatrical WWE kind, the real kind. Olympic Greco-Roman training, underground fight circuits, places where men fought for money, not glory, where rules were suggestions and referees looked the other way. 6'2", 240 pounds, arms like tree trunks, hands that could crush a baseball, a nose that had been broken 4 times, scar tissue over both eyebrows, the face of a man who had earned every dollar the hard way, through pain, through violence, through understanding that in real combat, pretty techniques don't work, only power works. Only brutality works. And for 3 days, Marcus had been watching Bruce Lee choreograph fight scenes, watching him place performers in precise positions, watching him demonstrate techniques that looked beautiful, artistic, graceful, and absolutely, completely, totally useless in a real fight. Marcus had tried to stay quiet. He was the stunt coordinator. His job was safety, not critique. But something was building inside him. Frustration, disgust, professional offense. Because Marcus knew real fighting, and what he was watching on this Warner Bros. Soundstage was not real fighting. It was dancing. Expensive, elaborate, pointless dancing. And on Thursday morning, June 3rd, 1972, at exactly 8:52 a.m., Marcus Kane's patience finally ran out. Bruce was explaining the technique to a young stunt performer. The mechanics of it, the hip rotation, the chamber, the extension, the way the body becomes a weapon, rotating on a single axis, generating power through physics rather than muscle. It was beautiful to watch. Poetry in motion. The kind of movement that makes audiences gasp. But from across the soundstage, a voice cut through the explanation. Deep, rough, loud. Enough for everyone to hear. That'll get you killed in a street fight. 60 crew members froze. Conversations stopped. Camera operators looked up from their equipment. Lighting technicians paused mid-adjustment. Even the craft services guy stopped pouring coffee. Because everyone knew that voice. Everyone knew what that voice represented. And everyone knew that what was about to happen would be either spectacular or catastrophic. Marcus Kane stepped forward from the shadows. 240 pounds of scarred muscle and wounded professional pride. And Bruce Lee, all 135 pounds of him, turned slowly to face the man who had just challenged not just his choreography, but his understanding of combat itself. Care to explain? Bruce's voice was calm. Not tense, curious. Marcus took a few more steps forward. Now only 10 feet separated them. Crew members instinctively backed away, formed a circle, like they'd seen this before. Like they knew what was coming, but they didn't. Nobody did. Spinning back kick, Marcus said. His voice was hard, accusatory. Great for show, perfect for camera. But in a real fight, leaves you vulnerable. Off balance, can't see your target. Any experienced fighter catches you mid-spin and finishes you. Bruce tilted his head slightly. He was listening, really listening. Experienced fighter? Like you? Marcus's jaw tightened. He saw the trap but didn't care. Yeah, like me. 10 years professional. Hundreds of fights. Real fights. Not choreography, blood, broken bones. Real consequences. I see. Bruce's voice was still calm. Then maybe you should show me. Show me why these techniques don't work. The studio air electrified. Jennifer Martinez, the young script supervisor assistant, wrote down the time in her notepad. 8:52. Date: June 3rd, 1972. Location: soundstage. 7. Witnesses: approximately 60 people. She noticed her hands were shaking. "What are you suggesting?" Marcus asked. But there was no hesitation in his voice. There was excitement. Finally, what he'd been wanting was happening. Finally, he was going to show this small, overhyped movie star what real fighting was. "Simple," Bruce said. "You attack me. Use your best techniques. Wrestling moves, punches, whatever you want. I'll only defend. I'll show you why these filmic moves actually work. Or you show me why I'm wrong. Fair?" Marcus smiled. A confident, dismissive smile. "Very fair." Production manager James Whitmore rushed forward in panic. Wait. This is not insured. If there's an injury, shooting stops. The studio." Bruce raised his hand, gently but firmly. "Nobody's getting hurt, James, I promise. This is just a demonstration. Educational. Beneficial for the crew. How to shoot fight scenes, how to stay safe." "Right, Marcus." Marcus nodded. "Absolutely educational." But they were both lying. This was about ego, about pride, about who's right and who's wrong. And now it would be resolved in front of 60 witnesses. The two men moved to an open area of the studio. Equipment was cleared. A 30-foot open space, concrete floor. Perfect lighting. Cameras around, not running but present. Silent witnesses. Marcus took off his jacket, rolled up his sleeves, his muscles flexed. This man's body was a weapon, the product of years of weight training, protein, and violence. His huge fists clenched, made popping sounds. Someone in the crew gasped. Bruce just stood, still in that white t-shirt, still barefoot, hands at his sides, relaxed. He didn't take any fighting stance. He looked like he was standing there to talk to a friend. "Ready?" Marcus asked. "Begin," Bruce said simply. Marcus didn't waste time. Diving move. Classic wrestling. Leg grab. In a real street fight, this move takes most people to the ground. Get them to the ground, your weight advantage becomes maximum. Your weight is a weapon. Position is everything. Bruce's knee came up. Light, precise. Met. Marcus's advancing, shoulder at the perfect angle. Stopped it. All momentum stopped instantly. Marcus hung in the air at an awkward angle, his balance completely dependent on Bruce's knee. And then Bruce shifted slightly to the side. Physics took over. Marcus's own momentum carried him, uncontrolled. He hit the ground, hard, but not by accident. By his own redirected momentum. Marcus got up immediately. His face was flushed. From anger, from shame, both. Lucky, Bruce didn't respond. Just waited. Marcus tried a different approach this time. Punch combination, jab cross hook, classic boxing. Heavy hands, powerful strikes. Marcus's punches had knocked out professional wrestlers. Bruce's head moved. Minimal. Every punch missed by inches. Jab passed on the right, cross on the left, hook from above. Bruce's body was like water, flowing, shape-shifting, never quite there. Marcus threw 6 more strikes, fast, angry, desperate, none connected. And then Bruce stopped, stepped forward. Now he was only 12 inches from Marcus. Very close, dangerously close. "My turn," he said quietly. Marcus reflexively raised his guard, heavy hands up to protect his face. Classic boxing defense. Bruce's hand moved, but it wasn't a punch, open palm, a light tapping motion. To the inside of Marcus's elbow, right on the nerve cluster. Marcus's left arm suddenly went numb. His guard dropped. His eyes widened. Bruce's other hand moved. Again open palm, light touch to the side of Marcus's neck. Carotid nerve point. Completely safe, no damage at all. But the message was clear. This could have ended here. "In wrestling," Bruce spoke calmly, "you use power. You use weight. Correct. In a wrestling ring, that works. But notice, in wrestling there are rules. No nerve point strikes, no eye strikes, no throat strikes. So you learned this. How to win within these rules." Bruce stepped back, hands at his sides again. "But on the street, no rules. If I'd hit your elbow nerve, really hit it, your arm wouldn't work for 10 minutes. You'd be one-armed. If I had hit your carotid, really hit it, you'd be on the ground in 3 seconds. The expression on Marcus's face changed, from anger to understanding. Arrogance was slowly melting. "Spinning kick," Bruce continued. "You say it doesn't work. Because you think like a wrestler. What does a wrestler do? Closes distance, gets close, grabs. But if I use spinning kick, while you're approaching, I keep you at distance. If you come in, the kick stops you. My technique is an anti-approach technique. Do you understand?" Marcus slowly nodded. He couldn't speak, because everything was changing. His understanding was being restructured. "You're 10 years professional," Bruce said. "I respect that. You know a lot. But you learned in one system, with rules, with limits. I teach something different. No limits, no rules. Just what works, what doesn't work. And every situation is different. Against a wrestler, different. Against a boxer, different. Against a karate fighter, different. Bruce paused, smiled, a real warm smile. You're strong, very strong, talented, but you have one perspective. I can teach you a different perspective. Interested? Marcus Kane had tears in his eyes. 240 pounds of scarred muscle and broken ego. But those tears weren't a sign of weakness. They were a sign of awareness. Marcus stopped, gathered his voice. I was wrong in my claims. I apologize. I judged your techniques. Without understanding. Bruce nodded. Apology accepted. But understand, Marcus, you weren't completely wrong. Some filmic moves really don't work in real fighting. You're right, but here's the problem. I'm making movies. In film, the goal isn't realism. The goal is story, emotion, the audience's feeling. I need to be able to do both, real technique and beautiful image. And that's hard, very hard. Can you help me? Marcus raised his head. Help? Yes, you know wrestling. You know ground fighting. I know Wing Chun. I know boxing. I know fencing. But I don't really know wrestling. If you teach me wrestling, I'll teach you more martial arts. Both of us become better. The film becomes better. Deal? An incredible expression formed on Marcus's face. This man, who had just subdued him in seconds, now wanted to learn something from him. Ego medicine. The beginning of healing. Yes, Marcus said. His voice was clear now. Strong. Deal. The two men shook hands, and the 60-person crew applauded. Some because the drama was over. Some because they learned something. Some because they realized they'd just witnessed history. From that day on, Marcus Kane worked with Bruce Lee every day. Mornings, he taught wrestling techniques. Afternoons, he learned Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, boxing combinations from Bruce. Evenings, they choreographed stage fights together, combining realism and visual beauty. The film finished, July 1973, but Bruce Lee died that month. Sudden, unexpected, tragic. Marcus was at the funeral. He cried quietly. They'd only worked together for 2 months, but those 2 months had changed his life. 50 years later, in 2022, Marcus Kane still works in Hollywood. 82 years old, retired stunt coordinator, but he's still called as a consultant because his knowledge is unmatched. The combination of power and technique, the combination of ego and humility. On his office wall hangs a photograph. Bruce Lee and Marcus Kane, 1972. Warner Bros. Soundstage 7, both smiling. Bruce's hand on Marcus's shoulder. Below it, a plaque. 8 seconds changed everything. 50 years later, still learning. When Marcus teaches young stunt performers, he always tells the same story. Bruce Lee could have defeated me in 8 seconds, could have hurt me, could have humiliated me. But instead, he gave me a 50-year lesson. That's true mastery. Not just power, wisdom, not just winning, teaching. And then he adds, I walked into that studio that morning thinking I knew everything. I left understanding I knew nothing. And that awareness was the most valuable moment of my career. This story became a Warner Bros. Legend. Soundstage 7 is still there. Movies are still being shot. But what happened on that concrete floor in 1972 is indelible. The 60 witnesses never forgot that day. Jennifer Martinez, that young script supervisor assistant, is now a famous screenwriter, Oscar nomine. And in every interview, she says the same thing. The best performance I've ever seen in my career was those 8 seconds. Bruce Lee didn't win a fight. He won a student. That's true mastery. And the lesson? The lesson is simple but profound. Power is important, but understanding is more important. Winning is satisfying, but teaching is lasting. And true greatness lies not in destroying enemies, but in transforming them into allies. Bruce Lee fought for 8 seconds that morning, but the impact lasted 50 years. And it's still lasting.